there, it's Jen. I am here to show you my first process video using the stash kit that I created to use over the next couple of months, and I will link below to where you can see how I put this kit together. I'm going to be using this photo. This is my uncle. He's a year younger than me. He just got married, and so I wanted to scrapbook this photo of him and his new wife. It's a 5x7. I just have the one photo, and so I printed it a little bit larger. And I thought it would be fun to scrapbook some wedding photos with some of these kind of, I have these really pretty soft colors going on here, and I thought that they would work well. And you can see there's a little bit of red in the trees, but I think it could definitely pull pink, so I'm gonna just kind of play around with that. So I'll just go ahead and put you on fast forward and show you my process.
So usually on the first layout for a kit, I will just kind of go through and find whatever will work with my photo. So I'm just kind of flipping through all of these pattern papers, seeing what looks cute with my photo, what might work. And there are a few that probably could have worked, but nothing's really catching my eye until I pulled that little kind of dictionary print paper, and I really liked that. And then I also really like just the plain blue cardstock. So I'm pulling out those two things as well as the plus signs because they just got married and I thought him plus her would be cute. And I'm going to immediately go to this chipboard set from Maggie Holmes, and it's from, oh, I can't remember what the line is called, but it has a bunch of cakes and stuff on it because it's a birthday kind of theme. And I thought that would be perfect because this was, they had just gotten married and they had kind of a really informal wedding reception because they got married on a cruise, and then they just came and had a very informal wedding reception with us. So I thought this was a good time to use some of this chipboard up. And you can kind of see that a bunch of the pieces are going to work. I'm going to use the floral piece, and then I'm going to use a cake stand, the congrats, the number 2, and then a little banner as well. And all of those pieces work really well. I think I could have used even more of the chipboard too. And I'm also thinking I want to use the word love from those kind of mirror looking glass sticker things from Pink Paisley. And so I'm thinking about that. And I'm just trimming off the edges of this photo. I'm just evening them up because they're uneven. And you can see that I'm not using any of the really patterned papers from the kit, but what I'm doing is I'm using a lot of the chipboard, and that's bringing in my pattern. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're using a lot of embellishment that has a lot of color or a lot of pattern going on, then you can keep the rest of your papers really simple. Otherwise, it might get overwhelming. So I'm just kind of creating a large photo mat for my photo, and I wanted to see some of that text. So I just cut it a little larger than the photo on one side, and then I'm layering that piece of vellum behind it. I thought about layering it on top of it, but I didn't quite like the way that it was looking on top. So I wanted to do a little bit of kind of soft mixed media here. So I just have some white paint, just acrylic paint, and I'm using a palette knife to kind of spread that out around on my blue background there. And just like I said, just spreading it out, making kind of a thin layer. I don't want it to be super obvious. I just want it to be a subtle detail. And as I put my photo down back over it, I don't know if I'm loving it. I'm going to use my heat gun to just kind of dry it up to see if I kind of like it more once it's dry, but I actually decide to abandon the blue cardstock. I will definitely save that blue cardstock for another layout using this kit, but I'm going to pull out some white cardstock. I know I'm going to be adding a lot of color in with the different embellishments, so I'm not too worried about just going with white, and I love white cardstock, and that's okay, right? So I am already adhering stuff down, and I decided that I still wanted to do some mixed media, so I'm pulling out some pink acrylic paint. This is from Ali Edwards, and it's kind of a coral color. I will link to that in the video description, as well as all the other products I use. And I'm just spreading it on the top left and the bottom right, just kind of overlapping the text print and the vellum a little bit and just the white cardstock. Just wanted to give it just a little something. And I'm going to use some Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Blush, which is a color that I've had for a while, but I think I've maybe used it one time. But I'm just sprinkling that in with it. And then I'm also going to pull my gold Color Shine And you have to give those a good shake if you want them to look right. And so I'm just giving it a good shake, and I had a hard time opening it. I almost called my husband over to open it for me, but I got it open eventually. And just putting so I have gold and pink splatters there, and they're shimmery and sparkly, which is pretty. So just cleaning up that craft mat there and with a baby wipe, and I'm just going to make sure that my photo looks good here and that I have my mixed media where I want it to be. I pulled out my heat gun again because I'm impatient and I wanted to get that mist to dry. The acrylic paint actually dries pretty quickly, but the mist takes a little bit longer. So I'm just using that to help it out so that I can play with the rest of the layout because I'm, again, impatient. So I'm going to place my photo on top of there, and I'm trying to decide how I want my embellishment to go. And I decide to put the flower at the top right, and then I'm going to put kind of a little cluster of embellishment down at the bottom left with all of those other little pieces that I pulled. Now, the tassels that are from the Maggie Holmes Gather collection that I included in the kit match all of this stuff perfectly, and I thought it would be fun to include them with the chipboard banner pieces. So I'm kind of thinking I want the tassels and the banner to be up at the top left, and that gives me 3 areas of embellishment. So I have the one to the right of the photo with the big floral, and then I'll have a cluster to the left of the photo, and then one at the top. So I'm thinking about what I want my title to be, and I thought I could maybe do "They Found Love" or something like that. And so I'm pulling out my little Jen alphabet stamp set here from Felicity Jane that I designed, and I am stamping with some Allie Edwards Black Butte ink. I thought it might be nice to include the contrast of the black, so I'm just stamping it out here, and the letters connect. I've designed them to connect pretty easily, and so I'm just doing that here and stamping out the word "found," just using an acrylic block. And I love the way that these Allie Edwards Crafters inks work. They're just they're kind of like a pigment ink, and so they're just a really solid stamp right from the get-go. And so now I'm stamping out the word "they," and I couldn't decide if I wanted to do "love found" or "they found love." And what I'm planning to do is I just have some plain white smooth cardstock here that I'm stamping it on, and what I'm planning to do is just stamp it and then cut around it. I just stamped the little tail on the beginning of the F, and that's what that little tiny little swoop on the stamp set is for, is to put at the beginning of letters. So I'm hand trimming these out. I will skip ahead here in a minute so that you don't have to watch me hand trim them out. And in fact, you're not even watching me because I'm off camera doing that, because I'm holding it close to me so that I can see well. But I like to use my close to my heart micro tip scissors for that. And the black seemed to contrast a little too much, so I went ahead and stamped it again with some Allie Edwards St. Helens. No, St. Helens is the gray. I can't remember what the color is. I'll link to it. But I didn't end up using these either. The ink's called Olympia. I looked it up. But what I'm doing now is just arranging these little chipboard pieces and creating my cluster at the bottom, and then I'll figure out how my title will fit in with it. And so I still haven't quite decided how I want my title to go. Now, as I'm creating this little cluster, I'm kind of nestling everything together. So I really like the way that the little congrats banner fits right below the cake, and then the 2 can kind of rest on top of where the banner is. And now I'm going to use some black rub-ons, and these are kind of a Valentine's lovey theme, which I think works well for a layout like this one. And I'm going to pull a few of these rub-ons and put them in various places around the layout. Right now I'm doing a little arrow, and it's a little hard to see because I put it right on top of the text, but I think it's still visible. And I'm going to put a little XOXO right on the little chipboard cake there, which I think looks cute. So I'm going to go ahead and put the word love kind of resting on top of the cake and the 2. And I decided to line the L up with the edge of the word paper, and so it overlaps the photo slightly. And to incorporate another element of that kind of glassy look, I used the little heart from it, and I put it kind of where the heart comes out. It rests in the little flag of the banner, and I'm holding those stickers over it so you can't see right now, but and the arrow points right to it as well. So I like that. So now I'm pulling out my Maggie Holmes Gather stickers, and I really like this little camera, so I'm going to stick that there, and I'm trying to see what I might be able to put in the center of it. And I thought that those flare from Feed Your Craft might work, but they didn't. And I remembered that I had some little enamel dots that have these wooden pieces on them as well, and I'm going to place one of those in the center instead, and it fits perfectly, and it has gold glitter in it, which is perfect. So I'm placing another rub on, and I'm just kind of filling in some gaps. So I put a heart in between the cake and the two, and I'm putting these little lovebirds up above the flower. That needs just something up there, and I thought it would be nice to just bring in that little pop of black and white there. And I will also put another little rub on right below it. So I'm liking the way that this is looking, but I'm thinking that the top right cluster needs something more than just those black and white elements besides the flower piece, and so I'm going to think about what I want to do for that. I just secured that vellum down a little bit right underneath the plus signs with some liquid glue and that Scotch Quick Dry adhesive, and then I'm adding some of those coral little word strips from the Maggie Holmes Gather collection sticker sheet, and I put one at the bottom and one at the top, and now I'm adding some hearts at the top as well. Like I said, I just felt like I needed something else in that cluster besides just the black and white, and so I'm adding in some color with those stickers. I'm also adding some more stickers into the bottom. I put a little black and white flower up at the top as well, just to bring in some more of the black and white, and then I found a little bird that had the black and white on it too that I placed kind of right, so it looks like it's resting on top of the cake, and I really think that turned out cute. So I'm just checking to see if there are any more rub-ons that I want to include, but I think I decide against that, and I'm wanting maybe just another little something that's black at the bottom, and so I thought about that little black heart that's from the chipboard sheet, but I decide against that. And so I'm just kind of looking around for what I might want to add, looking through the sticker sheet and all of that. And there's that little banner that says "Yay," that was a chipboard piece that I thought would be kind of cute, but I just didn't end up working. I also thought about including that little tag and maybe putting some journaling on it, but I decide against it. And so I'm just kind of looking for those final touches. I thought about maybe adding some stamps, and you can see that I decided against adding the stamped words that I stamped out at the beginning, which is okay. I think that I could have made them work, but I just wasn't feeling it for this layout. So I'll definitely use those stamps on another layout. So now what I'm doing is I'm stringing up my banner. So what I did was I used a tassel and then a little chipboard banner piece, and then a tassel and a chipboard banner piece. And I'm just kind of pushing, the chipboards are adhesive, so I'm just pushing it down on the string so that it sticks. And I'm just using some white crochet thread for this. And then I'm using some gold staples. Those staples are from American Crafts, and I'm using an American Crafts mini stapler for that. I keep my gold staples in my gold stapler, and then in my Tim Holtz tiny attacher I have just regular colored staples. So I put some staples on the bottom as well, just so that I could have some more, like another place where they lived. And now I'm drawing some journaling lines with my black Muji pen. That's my favorite pen to journal with. It's a nice thin line. And I'm just putting that above the photo and making it so it doesn't go higher than where the lovebirds are really. So I'm just writing a little bit about that day, and I don't know that I've ever mentioned in my scrapbooks that I have an uncle that's younger than me, and so I'm writing that down as well. And I'm also thinking about, I was looking up how to spell his wife's name because I knew it was a different spelling. And I will look up the date here on that picture in a second as well. So just jotting down a few lines there, like I mentioned, about what that day was about and about my uncle. And I'm going to stamp the date with the same Black Butte ink. And I stamped it at the top, and then I decided to go ahead and stamp it again at the bottom just for fun. I don't know why. And I'm trying to see if I want to use some of these enamel dots that are from the Little You collection, where I got the center to that camera, and I decide to sprinkle some blue and pink around. I'm just kind of playing with my tassels to make them lie flat, and just adjusting that string a little bit so that it looks a little better when it stands up. And then that is going to be my layout finished. There's a bunch of close-up photos here. You can find out more on my blog at craftygenschow.com, and I will link to all available products in the video description below, as well as over on my blog where you'll find these still photos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week for another installment of this series, and I'll show you another layout that I created using my stash kit.